Gonna have to. Well, hi everybody. Let's go ahead and start the webinar. And I want to welcome everybody today. Today's webinar is Double the Value of Your Social Software. Now, I'm Hutch Carpenter, and I'm a Senior Product Manager at Connectbeam. And now what you see on screen is my Connectbeam social profile, which gives you an idea of my areas of interest and what I'm working on. By the way, I'm joined in the room with by Shinji Aguma, who also works at Connectbeam, and he'll be fielding some of the questions and answering those as we go through the process. Now, in today's webinar, we're going to talk about social software, but from a different angle than what you may have seen in other presentations. We love wikis, blogs, microblogging, and the other variations of Enterprise 2.0. Each of these applications has grown in its own right. Now, at Connectbeam, we're seeing the potential for a new strategy. Integrating the content and metadata of these different applications enables a richer experience for employees and increases the value of each individual app. Hence, the topic of today's webinar, Double the Value of Your Social Software. Now, we're going to cover best practices and bring in some unusual examples to tell the story. I hope you enjoy the presentation. So here's what we'll cover. What's happening in the enterprise right now? 3 ways to double the value of social software. A bit about Connectbeam. Let's see how this works. We'll show you a demo of the app. Finally, questions, Q&A for you. Although, to be honest, feel free throughout the presentation. If you have any questions, put them up there in the chat, and Shinji will get back to you. So, enterprise social software is growing. Forrester Research recently released a report forecasting 47% annual growth in the social software market. That's pretty heady stuff. Clearly, the sector is gaining traction with enterprises. There are a growing number of social software applications that are helping companies today. Blogs, forums, and the latest edition, microblogging. Video, and the most common application out there, wikis. And social bookmarking, podcasts, and photos. These tools are fundamentally different from the previous enterprise apps and are powered by the ideas, knowledge, and ingenuity of employees. Now here's something. Even as these applications grow, we are encountering a familiar problem. We're creating Enterprise Silos 2.0. This is the irony of enterprise social software. Even as it better enables collaboration across the organization, breaking down geographic and departmental walls, the content generated in these apps finds little visibility outside of them. Now, this results in several frustrations. Adoption rates aren't at desired levels yet. The impact of the applications can be hard to gauge, and employees question the value of their time with these apps. This is what got us thinking here at Connectbeam, how can companies improve on this? And so this is our question. What happens when we integrate these tools? Now, each social software application provides value by itself. Tie them together, and a new layer of value takes hold. 1, you can expand information's reach. 2, create a dynamic skills database. And 3, diversify and strengthen workers' information sources. Now, when I talk about doubling the value of social software, the basis of that is grounded in these 3 drivers. Let's look at each of them in detail. Expand information's reach. Why expanded information reach matters. Forrester analyst Craig Simons really puts his finger on it. Organizations today are driven by their ability to create, disseminate, and use information. This distinguishes the information economy from the manufacturing economy. In the manufacturing economy, a lot of effort was put into improving operational and capital efficiencies. In the information economy, the game has changed. We focus more on innovation, information worker productivity, and responsiveness to the market. The differentiator for companies is their ability to create and process information. The rise of employee-generated content has only increased this need. It used to be things like ERP data and processes and stats. That really defined, let's say, the information economy. But now with social software, we're getting into a wonderful, chaotic world where information comes from many sources, and we're relying more and more on the thinking of our colleagues. So to improve reach, you've got to put information in the flow. Now, what I've got here is a little different, and I promise you some different examples. It's the story of an online publisher, courtesy of Ed Rivas. The online publisher was disappointed in its subscription rates. One issue? It was putting consumers through 9 separate pages during the subscription process. And many users got frustrated with the extra steps and just dropped out. Hence the low subscription rates. So the publisher then reduced the number of pages to 3. Upon doing this, there was a 300% improvement in user subscriptions. So social software can take a lesson from the world of online commerce. Reduce the number of steps to get information, and you improve its reach. Now, when I talk about reach, what do I mean? I'm really thinking in terms of an information reach program built on 3 distinct use cases. Search, you seek information. Serendipity, you happen upon information. And notification, information finds you. Now let's look at these use cases individually. Where are employees most likely to run searches? Forrester Research polled employees and found that less than half were able to find information they want on their corporate intranets. Now on the other hand, Pew Research found that a high majority of people can find what they're looking for out on the web. One outcome of this? Well, employees continue to look outside their own databases when they need information. They really aren't thinking about what their colleagues have created on wikis, blogs, etc. Clearly, there's an opportunity here to improve things. And here's how. Make sure your employee-generated content shows up where employees are likely to seek information. Connectbeam integrates content from social software applications into the search results for any search engine. What you see here is our integration with Google Search. Now, with roots as a social bookmarking company, we're fans of Google, Yahoo Search, and other search engines. Finding new information and bringing it inside the organization is vital. But the pendulum has swung too far towards looking externally, particularly with the increase in employee-generated content. So we have to make sure that when workers run a search, they see the results as they normally would, but are also provided with related information from inside the company. And so that you see here with this toolbar is that we actually present for a search when we run a search, we actually present in the flow the related tags, users, and content that resides in the social software of the company. Now let's look at how this integration helped one of our customers. How Connectbeam search integration saved $50,000. So what happened was a departmental employee wrote about a software contract for which they had a good discount. This is a department that had been using software for a while and had negotiated a favorable discount. And they put it up on the wiki. This is what wikis are great for. Now other departments were interested in the exact same software, but they were not aware of the existing discounted contract. So the other departments do what we all seem to do. They ran web searches. Now the difference here is when they ran a web search, not only did they get the search results for the software, but they saw the wiki entry. That actually caused them to inquire internally about it. Result? The other departments ended up participating in the existing departmental contract, not signing new ones, and the net savings for the company was $50,000. That's not bad. That's real money, and it's a great example of how the value of a wiki just increased just by putting the information more in the flow of where workers are doing their work. All right, now the second component of our information reach program is serendipity. Now serendipity is finding useful information when you aren't seeking it. At the recent DFrag conference, there was a session on serendipity. During that session, Google employee Kevin Marks noted that Pixar's campus was designed to maximize serendipity, lots of places to bump into people. Now, Pixar's business is built on creativity, and you see some of the images here on the screen. My kids love these. Then fostering unplanned interactions among its employees is a part of its innovation culture. In large organizations with thousands of employees and multiple locations, you can't create a physical basis for serendipity for all those people. But you can provide employees with the ability to see content and activities of colleagues to improve their opportunities for those aha moments of great information finds. Now consider serendipity in a portfolio context. When Pixar employees bump into each other, it's not like every encounter results in a great movie idea or even an improvement to existing projects. But that's too high a standard. What's needed are a lot of random encounters. The odds are low that any specific item of content created in social software will be useful to you. But Multiply information exposure over thousands of interactions, millions of interactions, and strategic advantages emerge. Now, these advantages relate to innovation, productivity, and responsiveness. Let me give you my own personal example. Here at Connectbeam, we're working on adding geotagging to content. There's a really interesting use case for this. Now, I personally wasn't diving into the details, but I knew about the effort. At about the same time, I happened to see a tweet by Charlene Lee, the former Forrester analyst. She wrote about a new geotagging service from Yahoo. I read about the Yahoo service and sent it around internally. Believe it or not, it actually helped our thinking on the geotagging initiative. This to me is a great example of serendipity. I wasn't looking for information. I just happened to see something that was relevant, and I was able to it was actually able to help the company. That being said, serendipity better not require a lot of time. One could see a downside in the serendipity use case. How much time does one need to invest in following random updates from others? And the answer is that it shouldn't. It shouldn't take a lot of time. Employees cannot possibly take in all the content created by colleagues, so serendipity has a certain chance aspect to it. At Connectbeam, we're big on exposing information to workers in a way that does not require a lot of their attention. What you see on screen are 3 examples of this. Now, the enterprise-wide tag cloud updates in real time as content is added. And then the latest tags provide a quick view into what's happening. The same logic applies to the activity stream provided on the Connectbeam homepage and the individual user updates that are visible in the Microsoft Outlook social profile. Now, great. So we've discussed the first 2 components of information reach program, search and serendipity. Now let's talk about the third element, notifications. Now, search is only done when you have a specific need. Serendipity is great for those chance encounters with great valuable information, but it does not provide systematic coverage of areas that you care about. Notifications are the third component of information reach. Notifications help you find relevant content in a sea of information. Now, at the recent Web 2.0 Expo, Professor Clay Shirky put forward an intriguing observation. It's not information overload. It's filter failure. Now, his point was, we've been dealing with increasing amounts of information for as long as since the development of the printing press, and there's only going to be more information generated. So it's not possible to throttle that back, and we shouldn't try to. What is needed are better ways to filter only for the information you care about. Now, out on the web, it can be hard to trust the judgment of any person with a blog, a Twitter account, Delicious account, etc. And this is what makes it all the more challenging from a filtering perspective out on the web for consumers. But inside organizations, the situation is better. The hiring process results in colleagues with judgment you can trust. And colleagues' daily work provides relevant context. You work inside a company, everyone's geared towards similar goals. And so there already exists a great foundation for filtering, but clearly more tools will be needed to make better filtering a reality. So here's how we look at it. Let workers personalize their filters. People are not monolithic information consumers. Give them control and options to personalize their content filtering. And this is a change from some of the previous enterprise applications such as portals out there, which had a little more of a one-size-fits-all top-down distribution. The emerging dynamic is to actually let people personalize the way they consume information. And so how do they do that? Well, you can actually track information for groups. Groups can be built around departments, projects, communities of interest. Individuals, you can follow the activities of specific users with whom you work and trust. I personally like to follow my colleague Shinji here, as well as my boss. I always want to know what he's up to. Keywords. You can have content notifications delivered for topics that you care about. And finally, give users the choice for how they consume the information. They can be email or RSS. So let's recap this. It is no longer what you own that counts, but what you know. Establish an information reach program built on 3 components. 1, put employee-generated content right where people search. Don't have those extra steps to get to the information. 2, increase chances of serendipity with a minimum attention commitment. And that's important. That second part's very important. People have to be productive and get work done. 3, give employees personalized filters to track information relevant to them. All right. Now for the second use case in doubling the value of your social software. Create a dynamic skills database. Increasingly in the market, there's a new approach to evaluating people for jobs, looking beyond the resume at what your contributions are. One common theme on this, and we see it often in the press, is that employers check out people's Facebook profiles or MySpace profiles, often finding embarrassing things. But there's another dynamic emerging. Seth Godin describes it well. He asks, rather than have a static resume, why not have a dynamic, living example of what you're about? And he put it in terms of things like projects, a reputation you've built up, or a blog. And this is a great idea because this is the emerging dynamic of Web 2.0 out there, which is that you are what you publish, you are what you contribute, and that says a lot more. That using that in combination with the things like a resume says a lot more about you than a simple static resume. But this philosophy is still not implemented in most organizations. Now the good news to the right here you'll see is that most employees do believe their colleagues have the ability to help them. 67% in this case. The bad news is that it is often hard to find others with knowledge and ideas that can help. So when you see, and I look to the left there, and this is a mock-up of mine, but when you see a typical corporate directory, you can understand why this would be challenging. You're not getting a good read for what an employee knows and is working on. You're really getting essentially contact information. To which we ask, isn't this a lot better? And what you're looking at here is the Connectbeam social profile on our application. Now to the left, you see my image and you see contact information for me. Connectbeam does integrate with LDAP and Active Directory to stay in sync with this information, so that's great. In the middle, you see what we call social information. And you see expertise, interests, projects, and about me. Those are 4 areas where every user can self-define themselves. They actually describe their areas of expertise, interests, projects, and they're going to fill out an about me, and you see mine here. We even allow links to your external sites for where employees may be doing some other things. For me, you see my blog, my friend feed, Twitter, and I call it my resume. It's my LinkedIn profile. So that's the part where employees define themselves in their terms. We then also have, you'll see here on the middle, active groups and recent bookmarks. This is the dynamic, living skills database. This is in the flow as people are doing their work, updating constantly. This is the basis for seeing what someone's working on at any point in time and understanding where their focus is. And then look to the right, the tag cloud. What you see there is my personal tag cloud. These are my tags that I've applied to content. And right off the bat, you get a pretty good sense of what my interests are. Enterprise 2.0, adoption, business case, etc. And so this tag cloud updates in real time automatically as I'm just doing my regular work inside the organization. And you'll notice there's even a tag cloud slider there, which is set currently at 3 months. You can actually look at what I'm working on right now, or you can look back at what I worked on a year ago with that tag cloud slider. But this is what we're talking about. This is actually the living, breathing, real-time skills and interests of me that help others figure out how I can help them. What this means is that social software is more than an execution tool. Connectbeam customer Rich Hogue of Honeywell described this dynamic really well at the recent DFrag conference. With Connectbeam, I was looking for a social bookmarking application. I ended up with a skills database. And this is a great example of how tying together social software results in a new layer of value. Now, the key is to surface those who can help. Now, Connectbeam has a number of ways to do this. And what you see on screen is, to the left here, you'll see a search on people. I've used tagging in this case. We actually let you search people based on their expertise and their other self-identified areas on their social profile. You can search for them. So it's not just content, but now find people that have experience around a certain subject. We also provide recommendations. So based on your social profile, we'll actually match you up with other employees, which you can imagine the value of this when you're talking thousands of employees geographically dispersed. This is a great way to find out who shares a common interest with you. And then to the right, when you run a search for content, here for query tagging, not only do we return the content when you do that search, but we return related users. Again, this is the dynamic skills database. This is how you actually find people around subjects about which you care. And now the use case, the next use case in doubling the value of your social software: diversify and strengthen employees' social networks. Now, employees have varying internal connections from a social network perspective. Now, this graphic by Harvard professor Andrew McAfee segments the connections of workers inside organizations. Strong. These are your close collaborators. This is the folks that you probably, off the top of your head, you would turn to if you had a question about things. They're the ones you work with regularly, and form probably are the strongest bonds inside organizations. Weak. These are people you know. You're aware of some of their things they work, of what their expertise or the areas they work on, but you have pretty infrequent interactions with them, so you're not always on top of what they're up to. Potential. These are people in an organization that are unknown to you, but would be good to know. They're working on things that are similar to you or that could be helpful to you, but right now it can be a challenge to figure out who those people are. And then none. It's fair to say that there's always going to be a significant number of employees in these large organizations where it just doesn't make sense as a connection. They're just working on something completely different. Now, this segmentation is important because it provides a great framework for thinking about where companies' opportunities for improvement are. Company performance is determined by working the weak and potential ties. Now, what do I mean by that? Employees already leverage their strong ties. To the left there, what you see there is my graphic around this. But this is how most of us actually operate. We've operated this way for decades. The people that you work with, that via phone or physically in contact with, are probably form your strong social connections. And these are the people you'll turn to for information, perspective, opinions, etc. Nothing wrong with that. That's needed. But that's what everyone's already doing. And so what becomes important is moving outside that band of strong connections, and that's where the differentiation occurs for organizations. Now, as I say, the most natural thing for us to do is to turn to those we work with regularly for information and perspective. Now, the problem with using only this approach is that employees tend to receive redundant information. Now, that is, they see the same information and perspectives that they, because of the commonality of the group, which limits the growth of employees and limits the growth of ideas and initiatives. Now, don't take it from me. Don't just take it from me here. Let's walk through a little bit of a statistical analysis on this. Now, there's a study by researchers at NYU, MIT, and Boston University. They looked at an executive recruiting firm. What they did is they actually had a very clever approach to figuring out the internal social network of this firm. They used the email contacts and interactions as the basis for the implicit social network of the firm. And so they actually pulled in accounting data to look at the revenue generated by the various employees in the various projects. And here's what they found. A 1 standard deviation increase in employees' betweenness centrality results in $76,000 greater revenue per year. A 1 standard deviation increase in employees' network diversity results in $83,000 greater revenue per year. Let me explain that. Betweenness centrality. What that is, it's a measure of the breadth and depth of one's social connections. So if you actually have a high number of email contacts and you have a really robust set of interactions with those various contacts, you tend to have a higher betweenness centrality. You're very plugged in. Network diversity measures the degree to which your contacts are connected. And by that, in other words, if I know person A and I know person B, how well do person A and B interact with one another? The more diverse your set of contacts inside an organization, the more non-redundant information you get, which actually helps give you new information, new perspective, new ideas. And the results here, as you see, are that when people actually are better connected and have more diverse networks, they tend to be higher producers. Now, leaders, and when I talk leaders, I'm talking organizations, will increase the overall average of network strength and diversity. Now, this graphic plots the results of that study I just referred to on a normal distribution curve. What leading companies will do is not simply rely on their outlier performers. I mean, that's always going to be the case of people that are better plugged in, have better information sources. You're going to, and they're important. But the leaders are going to institutionalize these ideas of improved network strength and diversity. So on this chart, you see here I've laid out the one standard deviation to the right improvement, for employees that are better in terms of having more diverse networks, how their revenue generation. Now, instead of focusing just on the folks that are one standard deviation to the right, imagine moving the average value for network diversity for all employees just slightly to the right. Now, imagine if you could pick up an average of $500 or $1,000 in revenue per employee as you improve this. How would that affect the bottom line? And that's the kind of thing we're thinking about. Now, good question here to ask is, okay, great. So I know there's going to be others in the organization that could be helpful and diversify my information sources. The question is, how do I move these weak and potential ties closer to strong ties? Well, first step, you've got to make employee contributions as findable as possible. It's hard to know what other people are working on and how they can help you if you don't know their contributions. So you've got to make those as findable as possible. Two, you got to associate activity and tags to individuals. We love internal search engines like Google's Search Appliance, etc., are great for indexing content and doing keyword analysis to return search results. They do nothing for actually helping you find people. And so it becomes really important to actually associate all this content, this activity, and these tags to individuals. Because that actually starts, because you are, like I said before earlier, you are what you publish. You need to enable easy following of the activities of others. And this is one of the learnings of out there in the consumer world, and social networks. They make it really easy to figure out, track what others are working on. And when you track what others are working on, you develop a really good sense of what they're about, their areas of interest, their skills. We need to actually enable the similar following inside organizations as well. Finally, fish where the fish are. Put employee-generated content where people do their work. Now, we talked earlier, a great example of this is the Connectbeam integration with Google Search. When you run a regular Google search, you're actually presented with content from the various social software apps as well. And when I say that's an important aspect, because one of the problems that a lot of companies encounter, a lot of organizations encounter with these new social software apps is, I like to say it's an example of YAD, yet another destination. You're forcing employees to go somewhere else. And once you do that, you're immediately going to see some drop-off, because it's another step. It's more steps to get to the information. And as we saw with the earlier publisher's example, reduce the steps, you get improved adoption. Okay, so now let's review this. I mean, this is what I've done, but at this point now, this concludes the discussion of the 3 use cases that double the value of your social software. So let's review what we talked about. Breaking through Enterprise Silos 2.0 reveals a new layer of value. Outcome number 1 of doing this is that you improve information's reach, which is increasingly important for today's human capital-driven organizations. Outcome number 2 is you can enable a dynamic, automatically updated skills database for employees to find colleagues that can help. Outcome number 3, work the weak and potential bands of employees' social networks to strengthen and diversify information sources. All right, so that concludes this portion of the webinar. But hopefully, what I've given you now is something that's different, some different ways of thinking about social software inside organizations, and some really concrete ways in which tying that information together actually will benefit productivity, innovation, and responsiveness. And so now a bit about Connectbeam. Now, Connectbeam is the award-winning collaborative information sharing company. You can put some of our awards down below there. A pioneer in enterprise social bookmarking and tagging. And we're focused on making useful information findable and metadata actionable. And off to the right, just to give you an example of how this works, that's the tag cloud for Connectbeam that we have. And so I'll give you some sense of some of the areas on which we focus. Now, Connectbeam is social search. What are your colleagues creating and finding valuable? We're activity awareness. track the updates of colleagues through serendipity and notifications, as we discussed. Or expertise location. Connectbeam provides a dynamic employee skills database that doesn't require, this is important, does not require any extra work. It simply updates automatically as employees do their daily work. This is not something where it really requires a lot of management. It doesn't. Once you install Connectbeam and you're in the connections with the various social software apps, going forward, as employees just do the regular in the flow daily work, the skills database updates automatically and makes them findable. Now, Connectbeam ties together the different social software apps that exist inside organizations. We leverage REST APIs for these integrations and offer pre-built integrations with a growing number of applications, such as Atlassian Confluence, Jive ClearSpace, Microsoft SharePoint, Microsoft Outlook, Fast Search, and Google Search for the enterprise. And this is just to give you a sense. This is an important slide here because this is actually directionally where Connectbeam is going. We actually see a lot of value in starting to tie these things together, and hopefully through what the presentation gave you a sense of why that's important. And with that, I was going to run through a quick demo of the product just to give you an example of how this would work. So let me come out of that, and I'm going to go. Thank you for the SharePoint. Thank you. And so, just to give you for today's demo, I'm going to do a quick run through. And we talked earlier about that $50,000 savings example. And I want to show you how that would actually work. So I'm actually in Confluence, and I'm going to create a new page under my technology stack space. All right, so I'm going to call this Buying Software XYZ at Discount. And I'm going to note, we have negotiated a 20% discount on software XYZ. And then I have some details after that. I'm going to go ahead and tag it with software XYZ technology and discount. Let's go ahead and save that. So now this is the example of what people do every day in social software. I'm actually now a user, and I'm creating content, this time in a wiki. And we'll just wait while it runs its save here. There we go. So now I've actually created an entry in a wiki. Now if we run over to Connectbeam, and by the way, just so you know, for persona perspective, I've now assumed the persona of Linda Nix, and as Linda Nix, I created that content on the wiki. I'm now looking at Connectbeam, and if I take a look at my bookmarks, what you'll see here is now in real time, Connectbeam got a feed out of the wiki. This is our plug-in with Confluence, and immediately you see buying software XYZ at discount, and you'll see the information there. And as you look, you'll see the title, you see the tags associated to it, who saved it, and in this case, I actually put it in a group. The group was actually automatically created one for one off of Confluence. I created a space on Confluence that automatically became a group on Connectbeam. So now going forward, any content that I put in Technology Stack on Confluence feeds into the same group on Connectbeam. If I'm tracking the updates that occur within a group, now I'll make sure I track I get notifications of wiki entries for that group as well. So now you see here in my group, Technology Stack, I have buying software XYZ at a discount. Now, in that earlier use case, in the example I gave you of 50,000, let's look at what a typical employee will do. Now I'm in another department, and I'm interested in this software XYZ. So I'm going to go ahead and run my search on that. And what you'll see there is the typical results for software XYZ. So again, in this case, as an employee, I'm actually in the flow. I'm doing what I would normally do. I Google it. And there's information about software XYZ, sure enough. But if you look to the right, what you'll see here is that we actually include related tags, users, people actually have some knowledge around software XYZ, and bookmarks. And if you look at you'll see that this bookmark actually says buying software XYZ at discount. Now, as an employee in a different department, this may have actually come as a surprise to me, because my first inclination was not to turn to the wiki or any other internal resources for software XYZ. I did what most people do. I Googled it. But sure enough, I look here, and there it is. I find out that others in my organization have actually been thinking about the exact same thing. And so with this, I can actually click the bookmark, and sure enough, instead of going out to an external website with information about XYZ, I'm taken to the wiki in this example, and I see that I can actually get a discount of 20% on software XYZ. Now, I want to show you how that actually also works. We talked earlier about this Microsoft Outlook social profile. I want to show you what that looks like. Now, what I've got up here is an email from Linda Nix, my demo persona, to colleagues Jim Burton and John Taylor. Now, if you look to the right here, you're going to see an icon. This icon it's clickable. I click it for Connectbeam. Give it a second here while it boots up. Sometimes we get, this is the demo server guides here. We're a little slow. Let me see something here. I will actually do that. Oh, I don't want to do that. That doesn't look good. There we go. Okay. We're going to open that one more time. No, that's actually not what I want either. I apologize. We're going to do one more time for you guys. Where am I there? There we are. Great. Okay. So now this is the email from Linda Nix. Now I'm Jim Burton, and I received her email. And what you see here is what I showed you earlier, my own profile. I see quickly from Linda Nix, I've got her information that is similar to the corporate directory, again via LDAP and Active Directory integration. I see her areas of expertise, what she has defined herself as. I see her projects, the things she's working on currently. I also see her tags, her recent tags, and her recent activity. And so at a glance, we talked earlier about the notion of serendipity and minimal attention requirements to figure out, stay on top of what's going on with others in the organization. This is what I'm talking about. What you're seeing here now is very quickly and easily the tags I've been applying, the recent activity the recent content and activity of me, as well as my self-defined areas of expertise. And you'll see here, buying software XYZ at discount. Now, as Jim Burton, as I read this email and I look at Linda Nix's profile, I may not at this moment be thinking about buying software XYZ, but now that little bit of information now is I've just saved it in my brain, and down the road, it's the kind of thing that can come back and be helpful to me. And just to show you, we actually enable this so you can actually toggle through. Everyone on the email distribution has their own social profile, and you can toggle through and look at what they're all working on. Okay. And save that. And now finally, I want to go back and again, we'll show you. I talked about the profile, and again, I want to show you in a live version of the tag cloud on the profile. So again, this is Linda Nix's profile, similar to mine. You can see her profile, corporate directory information, her social information. Let's look at what happens on the tags. I talked about the fact that you can actually view what someone's been up to for different time periods. If I actually move this down to today, here's today's activity for Linda Nix. So if I want to get a quick read on what she's been working on, I can see, and here I see that it was actually the software XYZ, which she's working on. But Linda's more than just what she's working on today. She's built up expertise over time, and we actually enable that, letting you to track back dynamically to look at the information that the areas that someone's been working on. You see here we actually have a 3-year look back. We can actually take it back all the way. So it's someone's entire history of what they've been working on. Take you home here. Again, one of the things that you'll see is recent activity in my groups. Well, people that are subscribed to the tech stack group, such as Linda Nix, who created it, are going to see, they're going to get an update. So just right in the flow, this is an activity feed. And one of the activities that just came through was buying software XYZ at discount. So again, this is the kind of, this is kind of the ambient awareness. This is the knowledge, just seeing things as they flow by when you weren't really looking for them in this case. And then also, as you want to show you that, then show you in real time the way things work. We actually also, in terms of recommendations, we do our recommendations on expertise, projects, and interests. And I didn't talk about it, but we also actually suggest groups. Based on your interests and the groups you belong to, we actually can leverage that and find groups with similar interests. So again, inside large organizations that can have many groups, we can actually suggest groups that you'll have an interest in. I do want to talk about these group ideas just a little bit more, and this is an important aspect because one of the things that differentiates Connectbeam and a lot of what we're doing from, like, say, consumer-grade technologies is we're ready for the enterprise. I talked about LDAP and Active Directory integration. Now I'm going to just very quickly show you how groups work. If I want to start a new group inside Connectbeam, I actually just create my own test group. I'll call it test group for fun here. I want you to notice something here. You can actually set it as open or restricted. And this is an important thing. We've heard this from organizations, and it makes all the sense in the world. There are some groups inside companies that really have a set number of users, and you really don't want to go beyond that. It could be HR related, and maybe it's a mergers and acquisition deal group, etc. And so you actually want to have the ability to, as needed, restrict the group to only invitees. But a lot of times, information it can be open. There's nothing to hide. Just the interest may not be there for some people, or for some people they'll find it. And so we actually enable open groups. You're allowed to have a description. You can run a search for colleagues, and show you that. John Taylor, we actually, because when we run a search for colleagues, we're actually hitting the your LDAP or Active Directory to find others. So it makes it very easy to actually add people to groups, and you can actually do a notification message, and you click OK. There it is. And just like that, you see now my new group, test group, has been created. And so with that, actually, I want to go ahead and take a break from showing you a little more from this. And I don't know if there's any questions, but feel free at this time, if you've got any questions, to go ahead and put them up there in the chat. Great question. Now, the answer to that is that we actually are behind the firewall. We deliver Connectbeam as an application. It's not software as a service. It is actually installed behind the firewall. We've got a couple ways of doing that. We actually provide an appliance, which is a server. It has everything ready to go when you install the appliance. We also now have just released a downloadable version, so you can actually download the Connectbeam application to your own servers and your own systems and run it how you want to run it. But one of the things that we're very keen on is staying behind the firewall with this, because this is actually a lot of important, valuable information, and you don't want it. It's pretty important to keep. What we found is most folks are still value having things behind the firewall. You provide RSS feeds. Yes, we do actually. Actually, talked about one of the things we talked about with RSS earlier was that you can actually get an RSS subscription to various updates of information as it occurs. I'll just give you a quick example here. You can actually, for instance, get an RSS feed for a group. So as new activity occurs within a group, you can actually just track it via an RSS. You can actually also, if desired, track via email. And for groups, you can actually get an instant update as soon as something's added, or get a daily digest. So that's groups. How about people? Let's go look at those. Same idea. This should look familiar. RSS and email. You can actually track the updates that an individual does across their groups or anywhere. So some people where their interests will span different groups or doing things that you want to track and you're interested in. We actually make that very easy with the RSS feed, or you can do an email. If you click on RSS feed, you actually get it. You actually will get the URL that you can embed for a reader. And then finally, we'll run a search. Let's run a search here. There we go. Now, when you run a search, we also enable the similar idea. So we can actually have a persistent search and get notifications when new content matches a term that you're interested in. So in this case, I put XYZ. You can actually track information related to XYZ via RSS or, again, via email. And again, so it's an easy way to stay on top of the information inside the organization. All right. I think that's it. So with that, I thank you for your attendance today, and feel free to reach out to Connectbeam if you have any further questions, and we can actually do a deeper dive into our application, the ways it integrates, and your needs for your organization. Yes, the slides. We'll actually make those available as well. Right now, we're going to put the slides up on. I'm going to put them out there on SlideShare. We'll also have a recording of this presentation soon up on the website, and we actually also send you directly, everyone. We can send you a copy of the presentation as well. Okay. Thank you, everyone, for attending, and we'll talk to you later. Thanks.